Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Lent. My special guest today is Gelindo Ferrin. He's Program Manager for KCR Americorps. Stay with us because you're going to learn about volunteer opportunities that can lead to a further education. Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Lent. My guest today is Gelindo Ferrin. He is the Program Manager for Kitsap Community Resources Americorps. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Mayor.
We're glad you're here, and you're new to this position as
Yes.
well as new to the community.
Yes, I am. I came here in May from Oregon.
Have you been with Americorps a long time, or?
No, I haven't. My first experience with Americorps was 95, 96, and I was a VISTA volunteer, which is under the Americorps umbrella now. And that was my first experience. I was a volunteer coordinator at the Arizona Children's Home in Tucson, and then I became an Americorps recruiter, a VISTA recruiter for Americorps for the next year when I went back to college.
Now let's take you all the way back to growing up. I understand you're from Chicago.
That's correct.
So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to the West Coast.
Well, you know, I was managing or working in a private club, and one of my responsibilities was to recruit people to work in the club. And I ended up going to a job fair, and the people next to me were Americorps recruiters and VISTA recruiters. So my interest in Americorps grew from that, and I got recruited, and I got my position in Tucson.
So instead of you recruiting, they recruited you.
That's right.
Isn't it amazing how the world works?
That's right.
Arizona, the county of Kitsap is very familiar with Maricopa County. So were you in that county when you were in Arizona?
I was in Tucson. I was
Tucson.
south of there. I was in
Okay.
Pima County.
Did they have the same program that we currently have for Americorps?
It was very different then. That was just in the years it was beginning. So it was much less layers. And my program was very small. There was only 2 of us in that particular host agency. But since Americorps has started, it's become a very different type of organization. Originally here in Kitsap County, it started as part of the DCAP program. It was one of the 4 pilot programs for DCAP, and that was in about 1993, and that was intended to help some of the displaced people as military bases were closing down.
So DCAP is defense related.
Yes, Defense Conservation Program. And so the pilot program that they started eventually became Americorps.
You know, Kitsap was involved in that. We had a BRAC scare, and that stands for base closure and realignment, or realignment and closure. And we worked 2 years while I was county commissioner to make certain that the different bases in the state of Washington were not affected by that. I know California lost a lot of base closure, and when you talk about people doing military jobs, or if they're leaving the military for 7 years, 10 years, sometimes they're not sure what they want to do. And so this is kind of the stopgap, and this is why you were formed.
Yes.
Originally.
Yes.
And now what you've metamorphosed because you take students from high school.
Sure, we take a lot of different types of people that are from, our minimum age requirement is age 17, and we go up to, older people, people with experience, people without experience.
And what do you do for them?
What we do is provide them with experience in an area that they may show some interest in. We also give them a monthly stipend, and they are placed in a host agency where they work. And for example, our program year now consists of tutoring and mentoring. I have 8 of those positions. We also have a member working at the YWCA in domestic violence. We also have a member in Bremerton school districts and also the Central Kitsap school districts. We have a member working at the Red Cross. We also have members, 3 new positions this year are members working at Kitsap Community Resources in the Housing Solutions Center as a homeless outreach advocate.
And the reason for that is that you find communities where there are needs to be met.
Yes.
And if an agency can't afford an FTE or full-time employment, then they do some outreach for volunteers, but someone that has a strong interest
Yes.
in that particular program.
Yes, and it's not really a employed position, it's a volunteer position.
Volunteer for us.
And they volunteer their time and they commit to they commit to 1,700 hours and 11 months of service in their host agency.
Now, your position as the program manager, it's not just they check in with you and then go out and do their mentoring or tutoring. You actually have some classwork, and I've addressed some of your classes,
Yes.
so that they're also going through a learning procedure. It's
Yes,
an
they are.
educational piece that brings into them presentations
Yes.
and what they need to do in the job market
Yes.
or in the real world when they get out to be gainfully
Yes.
employed.
Part of my responsibility is to help them learn some things like employment and training, what they need to do for employment and training, and how to make themselves well represented. I also let them do presentations to either our group or to other groups to develop their presentation skills. And also it's important for them to understand how to be on time, how to show up for a position,
Work
how
ethics.
to dress for a position, how to fill out an application or a resume, work ethics, jobs, and soft skills.
And some of your incentives, you have awards that you present. So this is a 1-year or a 2-year program?
They are eligible to serve up to 4 years, but 2 years is what many of them do. And one of the biggest incentives, I believe, is the educational award. And at the end of their service of 1,700 hours and 11 months, they receive a $5,775 education award that they can utilize towards future or past education expenses.
It would be very tough to set aside or save $5,700 in that length of time while you're struggling to exist and to work. When I first became the mayor in 2009 and 10, there were at least 40 Americorps volunteers that worked. They were really hard workers in the community, not just in Bremerton, but throughout Kitsap County. And that has dwindled. Tell us a little bit about your funding source and why we today have fewer Americorps volunteers than we had back then.
Well, the funding has gone down in many areas, and Americorps is one of those that is affected. And as a result, we have fewer host agencies. And a host agency or creating more host agencies is one of my goals, to get more people on board, in turn to get more people placed in host agencies. And basically it was about funding.
I know the schools appreciate that, but our Parks Department, I have to tell you, over the 7 years I've been in office, I've seen the difference that our parks in Bremerton have made by having someone from Americorps work with them.
Sure.
So tell us again, the individuals that have openings that they work with, if they're tutors or mentors, that's in the school district in a certain grade.
Yes, we have mentors at Central Kitsap and Bremerton School District, and they work in both elementary and junior high, working on reading and math skills, helping them develop their reading and math skills. And the goal is to, when they get assessed, is to have an improvement in their assessment scores.
Sure.
We also have people, some of the projects we've done, for example, recently, we've worked at the Sylvan Library, the regional library, and we spread about 6 yards of bark. That was pretty exciting. And
You got front page coverage in the Kitsap Sun.
We did, so that was interesting. Some of our other projects include landscape work at Retzel Veterans Home every year during Memorial Day weekend. We've also done the Family Spring Fair, which is in downtown. They've also done the block party with Coffee Oasis. Some of the other agencies are Children of the Nations, and we have a member there now. And also at the housing, we've done many different types of.
We've just had the Housing Solutions in the last maybe 6 or 7 years as well. It was something started by former Governor Gregoire, who wanted to end homelessness. That was well before we had our recession that started. So we've kind of expanded that homeless sect, but you've always had a couple at Red Cross.
Uh-huh.
And is that something that you've done in other states that's one of the areas that does need a volunteer?
I believe they have done it in other states. As of right now, we have a volunteer placed in there. We are looking for tutors and early childhood education classroom assistants at this point. We have 18 members. I need to fill 20 positions. So I'm still looking for people to fill those other positions.
How would someone, an agency that works with our public, how would they get in contact with you? What do they have to do in order to be a recipient of a volunteer?
Well, they have to call me, and I can get them set up with the directives to apply as a host agency. And that's a process that we go through. And it's rather lengthy, but it's well worth it. Some of the projects that we've done, like I said, including cleanup in parks. We helped Bremerton Parks and Rec open up one of the state parks this past spring. And the first time I met you was at the Bremerton Parks and Recreation Program.
You're right.
At
Planting the tree.
That's right. And that
It
was
was
the first
Arbor
one.
Day.
Right. And so the Kitsap Youth in Action, which was part of Americorps for a long time, has a Parks and Recreation program during the summer for kids. And they come to the park and they do arts and crafts and have some educational processes. You read them a book that day.
You know, it's amazing because in our school district, and we have 5 here in Kitsap County, but we have between 65 and 85% either free or reduced breakfast and lunch. So we continue to do that in the summertime to our parks.
That's right.
And those 3 parks where we have a lunch for them, we need to have activities for the kids so that they, it's a fun day, but they're also, their parents come or their grandparents come.
Yes.
That's very true.
Yes.
And so, again, we never have enough people nor employees that can do that job. So the Americorps, and you always have that logo, Americorps. So I see that you're wearing your shirt, but they all either have a sweatshirt or they have something that has that insignia. So we know who they're affiliated with.
Sure. One of the requirements to be in the program with Americorps is that they are wearing these types of patches with their shirts, hoodies and jackets. And that is so people can recognize them as Americorps members. And people, that are interested in being in Americorps can certainly go to the KCR website and fill out an application and or give me a call. My name and number is on the bottom of that application.
And then as you, where do you see Americorps in the next 5 years? Do you see it growing?
One of my goals is to help it grow. I'd like to get more host agencies involved. I understand it was 40 members at one point. I would like to double or triple that because there's a lot of need in the community and there's a lot of agencies that could benefit as well as a lot of citizens that can benefit from our service.
And it's a win-win because the agency benefits and the individual volunteer has that opportunity to continue education or go on to their secondary education. So as a city, how can we effectively support or advocate on your behalf? Do we write letters to the federal government in Washington, D.C.? Do we go through our own governor? What's a good recommendation for us to help you?
I think, first I have to say you've been a wonderful support for Americorps ever since its beginning. And I think anything that can be done to support it would be beneficial. Asking for an agency to become a host site, asking for members to come and help out in their community. I think once a need is established and a request for information, it would help to expand the program. Because one of my goals is to go out there and start talking to agencies, schools, and see how we can get them involved as a host agency.
Well, I know that you and I will have more conversations because just networking alone, you meet the people that are the ones that are going to take and make that happen for you. Getting back to your awards, at your graduation that I attended this year, there's always one individual that kind of shines above. So did you have 15 graduates this year?
Well, actually I had 18.
18.
16 were there.
Okay, so of the 16, they do it among themselves. So it's not something that you as an employee or as the program manager, it's within themselves. They kind of watch to see how the growth is taking place in each individual. And so there's that one award where they themselves vote that shining star.
Sure.
What's the name of that award?
The Member of the Year
Member
award.
of the Year.
We have Member of the Year, and all the members vote for the Member of the Year, and that usually is a person that goes above and beyond their call of duty to perform their volunteer service and do things without asking and without even really being concerned about what kind of
Getting credit.
benefit they will get or get credit. We also have a member with the most growth. We also have a member with most service hours.
So if you're a little timid when you first start out and you just do the assignments, if you go above and beyond, I know there was one fellow that he was the first one there in the morning, the last to leave in the evening. He picked up after there are some that just have the ambition and the
That's right.
enthusiasm and I think those are great mentors. So as they're working together as well as independently in their individual jobs, everybody wins by that.
Oh, I think so. It's been a really great experience. We've been doing orientation for the new program year just this last 2 weeks. And part of my responsibility is to build a team. And I've been really, really impressed with our team as of right now because
Great.
I give them tasks to develop their skills. And boy, I've been really impressed with some of the individuals stepping up to do individual work. And as a whole, how they're coming together. There are differences, but in the last 2 weeks, I've seen a lot of people come together despite of differences.
That's nice.
Yeah.
The graduation is always about the same time of the year,
About the last weekend of August. The last Friday in August.
of
usually.
August. And then when do you start your new program?
Well, actually, I'm starting it now.
Right now?
Our members will be placed on Monday into their host agencies. And I will already be starting recruiting for the 17-18 year because there's many things you have to do in addition to trying to find host agencies, which will help us justify getting more members.
Is there a lot of reporting back to the federal government?
Absolutely.
So besides the name and what they're doing, the success of the program, do you need letters from the host agencies or organizations that support the work that was done by that Americorps volunteer?
Well, we ask for evaluations twice a year. They will evaluate the individual, the volunteer, how that volunteer performed in their particular host agency, and certain attributes that we always look for people that we want to continue to work with.
And then they make recommendations so that you can advance and improve the students and their assignments for what they're doing.
Yes, there's always an area for the host agency supervisor to comment into what areas the individual can grow.
Well, I know what the city has done or the benefits we've received. I do know what the school district gains out of this because of the tutoring. The last person, the gal that had 2 years in the program, and I have forgotten her name, I apologize, but wasn't she going to go on to school now?
From last program year,
This last graduation.
we have several individuals that have found full-time employment. I believe there's 4 or 5 individuals from the last program year that have found employment.
That's great.
And that's one of the things we'd like to do is help them find employment. I think what you're referring to is one of the tutors that now I believe she's doing her student teaching.
Okay.
One of the reasons she wants to become a teacher is because of the experience she had working as a tutor. And she discovered that she likes, the little kids and is going to become an elementary school teacher. So she started her school, her education for teaching, getting her teaching certification, and now I believe she's doing her student teaching.
That's great. And sometimes you need like a dress rehearsal. I know that people that think, well, what am I really going to do? I'm not ready for my college, but I'm not sure what I want to do. And so this opportunity, if they are assigned something at school and they say, I'm not as comfortable, can I have another assignment? Can they do that through your program?
We discourage that.
Do you?
Because sometimes, there's always challenges that we have to go through.
Step out of your comfort zone.
That's right. One of the things I like to do is help them step out of their comfort zone. That's also one of the reasons we have such an intense orientation. They step out of the comfort zone and may discover something that they never thought they would do. And that was a good case. And she probably will be employed by Central Kitsap School District, and that is a direct benefit for the community from Americorps. And she's going to be a great teacher.
That's great. Do you find that they come just from our own county, our own community, or do you have people that apply that end up here coming from California or from other areas?
I have a very diverse group this year. I don't know what was in the past, but I do have a very diverse group. I have men and women of different cultural backgrounds, very diverse group, and I think they'll be working well together.
That's good. I'm always talking, or people ask me, there's not enough diversity. Is the largest city in the county. We do have the largest. We have African Americans, Guatemalans, Filipinos, Spanish. We have a big variety, but we don't get a chance to see them in the workplace. So I think that this year's class that you're identifying is going to do just what we're looking for in that diversity section. I know Olympic College has hired a vice president that works strictly on diversity, and we have over 100 foreign students that now attend Olympic College. So being around and with other people that have that identification or diversity, I think it's wonderful. And since they're all working together, you have some challenges yourself.
Oh, sure. Sure we do, but I think it's a wonderfully diverse group. We have African Americans, we have some Pacific Islanders, we have mothers and fathers, we even have a Canadian and ex-military fellow. And one of the areas we like to look for is people that have some experience, and they might be in a gap year after retirement, maybe wanting to do something instead of just being retired. And this member came from that background. And just a lot of, we also have some people that have been on assistance from the county.
I had a friend of mine that said his son was kind of wolfering. He'd been out of school a couple of years and didn't have a full-time job, and I recommended that they go online. Hopefully he's in this class, because that would please the parents as well as the student, to give them that head start and getting acquainted.
Sure.
Now
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I even have a friend from Wisconsin who said, what can my son do? He's 26 years old and doesn't know what he wants to do. So he signed up for Washington Conservation Corps, and he's working down in Belfair now. So it's a nationwide, very diverse.
It is very diverse. You took a gal by the name of Jennifer's place.
Yes.
And I think, are you the first man to have this position with Kitsap Community Resources?
I don't know. I don't think so.
My association with this is only since I've been the mayor. I just know the results that we've gotten from that. So, okay, you're going to double the number of people that we have. You want to get many more hosts. They're going to see the contact on our screen so that they can take and get acquainted with you and find out how we can spread this throughout the entire county. And just because you're housed in Bremerton doesn't mean that it doesn't cover all of Kitsap County.
Right. It's all over Kitsap County. We administer the grant for all of Kitsap County.
And I hope you love the Northwest as much as those of us that have been born and raised here. I know you're living in Kingston.
Yes.
And that's not such a far drive, but it is a chance for you to take and visualize or get acquainted with the entire county as you come into work each day. It's been a joy having you on board.
Oh, thank you very much. Before I go, I just want to give you a token of our organization. It's the Americorps Washington pin that you can wear at all of your great events.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll wear it when I come to the graduation. And any time that I'm doing something with Americorps, I will have this on. I do collect buttons, so
good.
it's well placed.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You're
Really
very
nice,
welcome.
very big pleasure. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
very much. And thank you, audience. We'll see you next time with Growing Bremerton Together and Mayor Patty Lent.